Join us today for another BattleTech book review. This time, Blood Will Tell by Jason Schmetzer. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. If not, I apologize. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. This is another BattleTech book review. Today, Blood Will Tell by Jason Schmetzer.
Can I take one wild guess at what this book involves?
Well, since you can read the back,
Okay. Yeah. It's the Lao, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. First and foremost, yes, as Chad said, this book is about the Lao. Most specifically, Danai Liao-Centrella. And I'll explain who she is in just one moment. I just want to point something out. On the cover of this book is a centurion. More specifically, it is the one named Yin Lo Wang. That wasn't meant to be funny.
It is funny.
So, Yin Lo Wang was owned by Kai Elard Lao, who is one of the only Laos that was not evil and corrupt and everything else, and apparently was hell on wheels in a battle match.
Was he crazy?
I don't think so.
Oh, cool.
But it has wound its way into the hands of Danai Liao-Centrella. Now, early on in the Dark Age timeline, she spends a lot of her time in the mech arenas on Solaris 7, where she uses the Centurion here to fight. But eventually, her, at the time, you think it's her brother. I'll get to that in a second. Doshin Lao, his celestial wisdom, the ruler of House Lao. What is his official title?
Chancellor.
The Chancellor. Thank you, Chad. The Chancellor of it. Why am I thinking? It's on the back of the book. Okay. Well, thank you for pointing out to me, I guess. So, Chancellor Doshin Lao sends word, basically, all right, fun and games are over. You're heading to the front line. You're going to lead one of the groups of McCarran's Armored Cavalry, the second group. Again, I apologize, folks, that I think they're battalions. I think it's 2nd Battalion, McCarran's Armored Cavalry. So, she goes to lead McCarran's Armored Cavalry in a number of the other books. She has a very unfortunate meeting with Caleb Davian, where he does a rather unspeakable thing to her. One of the many reasons why I cheered when I found out he died. It's just a shame she couldn't be the one to deliver the death blow, because she would have been well within her rights. So, I'm sure you folks can figure out what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to say it, because I don't know what YouTube says about that kind of thing, but...
I can figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure you folks can figure it out. So, anyway, she is quite the leader of her troops, does a pretty good job. So, what this book, however, focuses on is Doshin Lao is starting to try to get her ready to take on a leadership role within the Confederation. And part of the reason for that, and this is a spoiler to a different product, but just in case you don't know, Danai Liao-Centrella is not Doshin Lao's sister. She is Doshin Lao's daughter, with his sister, who rules the magistracy of Canopus.
That's how she got to rule that.
Yes, the two of them are the children of Sun Tzu Lao. And I can't think of her name, but she was the ruler of the magistracy. So, Doshin's sister rules the magistracy, and Doshin rules House Lao. So, Danai Liao-Centrella is technically the heir to both thrones. Also, technically the heir to the Davian throne, because one of the jihad books has like a bunch of like secret stuff in there, where you find out that Sun Tzu Lao has some of, I believe it's Hans Davian's DNA, which is why he was less crazy and why the Laos have probably been a little more successful as of late. So technically, she's also a descendant of Hans Davian. So there you go. She just needs to marry Ulrich Ward, and I think they only have to worry about House Kurita in the Free Worlds League, which they'll fall into infighting anyway. That's what they do. And yeah, like they
rule 3/5 of the galaxy.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so he names,
or her kid could.
Yeah. So he names her it's the equivalent of a duchess. It might be duchess of a planet, and it's the planet that typically the next person in line for the throne of the Confederation takes over before they become the Chancellor. That is a gender-neutral title within the Confederation, by the way. Unlike the Kuritans, they are not wildly sexist. Although the current coordinator of House Kurita is a woman, so there you go. But their armed forces are not wildly sexist. So the rest of the Confederation does not know that Danai is Doshin's daughter. He's told her that for now, you've got to keep that one under wraps, but when the time's right, he will tell everyone. Because the way House Lao works, whatever they tell you, that's the truth. And this book kind of actually covers things like that. You really do get to see the inner workings of the Confederation and how it's all held together. Like
smoke and mirrors and duct tape and baling wire.
No, it's like a lot of the citizens really are committed to the success of House Lao, and really do think they're doing their part and everything. And yeah, I mean that's why I think it's an interesting book, because it's a lot more of the political and the structure of how everything works. Like there's a point where there's a woman who's related. She's not in the direct line of ascension for the Lao, but she's one of the offshoots, and she's assigned to Danai to explain, basically try to tell her what it means to be a Lao, because she was raised in the magistracy. So she's fighting for House Lao, but from her perspective, she's fighting because she likes to fight. She's not fighting for the glory of the Capellan people or anything. And so this woman's supposed to try to bring her around to that kind of thought process and look, you've got to start thinking beyond McCarran's armored cavalry. You got to start thinking about the people, because one day they will be your people, Because Danai looks in the mirror at one point and notes that she's in her 40s and makes the comment that means roughly a third of her life is gone, because in BattleTech, her living to be 120 is not a stretch at all. So now, being the Chancellor, that might put a crimp in that, but all things being equal, she could easily live to be 120. So, because I think Doshin's in his 80s already. So, yeah. Anyone that could do the math should have known she wasn't Sun Tzu's daughter. I'm pretty sure he was dead before she was born. But whatever.
No one cared enough to do the math.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, it's like in the book here. Whatever the celestial wisdom tells them, that's the truth. And they even talk about that at one point. How she is trying to convince them that House Davian isn't who they should be worried about. They should be focusing on the Republic, because Davian's too busy fighting House Kurita. And she's like, look, either Kurita's going to finish them off, or Kurita's going to severely weaken them, and then we can fight them. But for now, let's deal with the Republic, and we can take Earth. Because this is before Clan Wolf makes their move. And so the only problem is, she's like, but how will we get the populace to go along with it? Davians are mortal enemies. And they're just like, oh, don't worry about that. We'll tell them the Republic's our mortal enemies, and it'll be so. Because that's the way it is. And now they explain, you can't just snap your fingers and do this, though. You've got to work into it. You start with some low-level stuff, and they explain the whole propaganda process to her, and how you've got to build towards the truth. And, then people come around, because they know it's propaganda, but they want to believe it, essentially, is what they get at. Also, the woman points out, she's like our enemies say, call us socialists. We're not actually socialists. I don't remember what her rationale was because it kind of sounded like socialism to me, but she was very adamant that it wasn't. But no, like, you know, these aren't huge spoilers. These are little bits of the book, so I don't think I'm really telling you anything here that's spoilery. They go to a large dam on Cyan. That's the capital world.
Sounds like a spoiler to me, Bobbie.
We'll get to there's only a few spoilers, and we'll be to them here in just a minute. They go to this dam, and there's an old man there who helped build it. And they meet him, and they talk to him, and Danai realizes, you know, the pride this guy has in having helped build this dam that helps power the capital world. You know, he views this as a major achievement he was a part of to help House Lao, to help the compelling people. And he doesn't care that, you know, he's basically a dirt farmer, you know. He's like, I did my part, you know, because they're all about the whole, like, what is it? To each according to their ability kind of stuff. So if you have ability, you can excel in the Confederation. Now, there's a cap. You will never be the ruler because you're not a Lao. You could potentially marry into the Lao line, though. Your kids might be there eventually. But no, you can achieve great heights in House Lao if you have the skill and don't piss off the Celestial Wisdom. So, yeah. But, yeah, before I go much further, there are some spoilers, though. So, should be the Wayne's World. But then I'd have to make the spoiler thing blink, and that's hard.
Just go to blinking.
Didn't you tell me they changed the site?
Yes!
I actually went to some site the other day. I don't remember what it was. I just clicked on it, and like, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this site has, whatever site this is running on autopilot. Because like the calendar says 2023, the rest of the site says like 2003. You know, like the way it was all set up and everything. And I was just like, this thing's just got to be running on autopilot.
Yes, if you want to see Blinky in all its glory, you got to use the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, well. Yeah, folks, check that out sometime. But anyway, so spoilers. The woman who helps Danai is unfortunately killed in a terrorist attack, which is a weird change of pace because usually it's the Lao committing these kinds of things. Here it's the Republic. Because once they take one of the worlds here in the book, like the Republic forms some like the soldiers, their mechs get toasted, so they just form like an underground resistance and start using terrorist tactics against them. And it was one of those like, I kind of thought you guys were supposed to be kind of the good guys because you definitely killed some civilians in what you did too. It'd be one thing if you just like, you know, sniper round killed her or something, even though she was totally just a Lao civilian. But you know, it was interesting seeing them on the receiving end, especially when her Danai was trying to take a very light hand to things. Because typically whenever the Lao take over, everyone gets to join the servitor class. And they bring in their own leaders and everything. And, well, over time, you can get out of the servitor class eventually. And so she was like, how about, and here's an idea, let's let the people that know how to run the things keep running the things. And like prorate their time. If they work for us, they can start not in the servitor class. And like the some of the governor types that come in like, oh, blah, 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 we can't do that. And she's like, you do know who my brother is, right? Like, who do you think is going to win this argument here? Like, let's get real here for a second, guy. Like, I could shoot you right now, and I'm going to get away with it. He's like, okay, you know. So they ultimately agree to do that. It's more of a light-handed approach, and so it was interesting seeing her take that approach.
Nepotism and work, or in action.
And then her command kind of gets shuffled around a few times. And towards the end of the book, you know, she has a conversation with Doshin Lao. And this is where he moves the government from Cyan to much, much closer to Terra. I don't remember what planet. It might have actually been the planet Lao, which they retook because it wasn't part of the Confederation anymore. They lost it a long time ago. So that happens. He sees that she's kind of coming around. Then she has to talk to the head of McCarran's Armored Cavalry, and she has two different conversations. She has the first conversation, which is her sister to the Chancellor, but then within the command structure, she's subordinate to this guy. So then there's the, okay, well now as your commander, we need to talk. So that was kind of interesting. I'm given to understand in recent events in one of the other books, though, she now commands the entirety of McCarran's Armored Cavalry, because Doshin had the top guy executed for something. So I don't know what book that's in, but that's apparently what has happened. So whenever I get around to finding that out, I will let you folks know. But yeah, like I said, she comes around. She also realizes once the Republic specifically targets her mech because it's easily recognizable, she's like, all right, this has been a good run, but I got to put this thing into mothballs and get a different mech so they don't know who to go after. And so her and her second in command get new mechs, and I don't know what they were. But yeah, so from the end of this book onward, she's no longer here using Yen-Lo Wang. Knew I'd get one more laugh out of you there, Chad.
That's still funny.
As far as I know, well, this that mech has a metal miniature. Because the Centurion, some of them have the shield like that. The plastic ones at the moment don't. But there it is, a metal one of specifically that variant with the weapon loadout. And
there's going to be one Lao mech I buy.
Well, I'd say there's a fair chance we'll see it in plastic, because Kyle Lard Lao is a very well-known character in the fiction. So we might see it if this upcoming Kickstarter has another like Legends of BattleTech kind of set. I'd lay down money that he's in it.
If not, well...
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't it be Danai Liao-Centrella?
Because they're sticking to slowly moving through the timeline. They're not... The stuff from the Mercenaries Kickstarter is not... It's stuff that's still usable in the IlClan era, because they'll update it. But but as we see it, it's meant to be probably like roughly clan invasion, getting into maybe the FedCom Civil War, just depending on what the timeline of the box is.
Technically, they could just release the mech, since it's the same mech.
Oh yeah, they could just do 2 pilot cards. Yeah, they could do that, and they might. So, we'll have to see. Because they should have done that to Nikolai Malthus's mech. Because his went on to be used by one of the pilots of the Dragon's Fury. Because the old Clicky Tech mechs, the Uniques, came with a little dossier that tells you about the pilot and a little bit about the mech. And she had a Thor, and it mentioned that it used to belong to Nikolai Malthus, and I was like, yes. It's like, yeah, good to know his mech's still around. He's not, but... So, yes, I just thought that was funny. But yeah, so this is a really good book if you want to look into how the Capellan Confederation actually operates, how the probable next ruler is. Although, like all the other houses, Doshin is playing Russian roulette on this one. That's his only kid. And she's on the front lines. She doesn't have any kids. Julian Dating from House Dating doesn't have any kids. Trillian Steiner, I don't think, has any kids.
Is she on the front line?
She's not on the front line, at least. But she had to live through a coup. So...
I mean, pretty sure...
I think it's Nicole Merrick is House Merrick, and I don't know if she has any kids.
Yeah.
And Yuri Kirita specifically avoided having kids because she knew it'd give the Warlord leverage, Warlord Toranaga, because he was like the puppet master controlling her until she took care of that. Which, if you want to know about that, check out the Damocles Sanction book review, which we did a few weeks ago. But yeah, she knew the moment she had a kid, she was expendable. So she made sure she didn't. But now that she's the undisputed ruler, she's probably going to have to.
Time to have a kid.
Yeah. So, but yeah. And then the clans, they elect new leaders, so they don't care.
They don't elect them.
For the Khan, they do. If the Khan dies unless the Khan dies through a challenge for leadership, then they elect a new Khan.
Oh.
It's how it works.
I figure whoever thinks they're better than that person is going to challenge.
I'm like 95% certain of that. I don't know if the Saw Khan automatically elevates to Khan. There's a little bit about how the clan dynamics work I'm not 100% clear on. So if you know, let me know down in the comments. I think it would be the Saw Khan and become the Khan, but if they both get killed at the same time, which has happened before, then I think they just elect a new Khan and Saw Khan. And I don't think the Lore Master is allowed to be either of those titles. So, but yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Now, like I said, though, if the Khan loses for a trial of position, then whoever beat them becomes the Khan. So that had happened very often. That's how Malvina Hazen became the Khan of Clan Jade Falcon, though. That's how Crazy wins.
There you go.
Big part of why she won was her cybernetic arm. Came in like a fist fight out in space, and she got the other woman cornered and was able to use her robot arm to smash through her faceplate and expose her to, nothing. So, yeah. That's how it goes sometimes.
Crazy is as crazy does.
I should have mentioned that in the Forever Faithful book. That came into play in a fight. Anyway. Guy knew the other guy had a cybernetic arm, challenged him like a one-arm fighting competition with literally like he's like, dude, look, you're bigger than me, you're an elemental. To make this fair, you gotta have one arm tied behind your back. I'll let you choose which one. Obviously, the guy chose to use his cybernetic arm. So Trent looked up how the arm works and figured out there was a weak point in it somewhere. It was able to smash it just right and deactivated it. So the guy was literally no arms. It still was a hell of a fight though, because he's an 8 foot tall elemental. It was like bashing him in the head and kicking him. But Trent was able to beat him after that. And the other guy's like,
Smart move.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, folks, definitely worth checking out. All of it is before the clan invasion of Terra, so we haven't seen yet. I think Dominion's Divided might have a little bit about, or no, that one or Empire Afar. I don't remember what the hell the second source book's called there, at least. I'm sorry. I've got it, I just haven't read it yet. So once I do, look for that video. But yeah, you want to know about House Lao and Danai and the Chancellor and all those folks, check this book out. It's pretty good. Let you know what they're up to. Let you see what terrorism from the Republic looks like. Yeah, overall, really good book. But let me know what you guys think. Some comments down here at the Twitter thing. Comments, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But otherwise, see you folks later.